Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Real Talks. I'm your host, David Steele, and today we're going to have a very special Spoilercast. So I have one of my friends coming on with his colleague, and we're going to be talking about the new Netflix film Glass Onion. So I went to go see it yesterday. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I put a tweet out about it. I was very generic tweet. We're going to get much more into that in depth when they come on. So I just wanted to say that this is just sit back, relax, enjoy. I will put their screen names and their handles for Twitter in the description box. So please, guys, go follow them. They got a fantastic podcast. Kale's been doing it for 7 years and just killing it. Okay, so sit back, relax, and enjoy. Thanks, guys.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Youth Critic Podcast. I am your host, Kale Smith. Joining me this week is David Weiser from Film Assessment.
Hey, everybody. It's good to be back.
And today we have a new guest new to the show, and he hails all the way from Real Talks. There's just no other better introduction. This is David Steele from Real Talks.
Hello, everybody. How we doing?
Very, very good. Very, very good. And David, since you are the new guest, you're the guest of the week, what movie are we talking about this week?
This week, we are discussing the much-anticipated sequel to the 2018 movie. Or 2019 movie, Knives Out. And this is going to be, we're discussing Glass Onion, a Knives Out sequel.
Yes, we are here for Glass Onion. We will not use the subtitle. You already know it's Knives Out 2 or Glass Onion. And even the movie doesn't say a Knives Out mystery. So it's Glass Onion. We are here for it. We're here to talk about it. It's a new movie from Netflix. It was only in theaters for 1 week. So I might not even get this podcast out in time for you guys to even see the movie, but here's how the structure is going to go. We're going to do an overview, and then we're going to do non-spoilers, and then we'll end with spoilers. And we will make it very clear when we go into spoilers, because we know not everyone's going to have the chance to see it in theaters this week. So yeah. All right. Starting with you. This is interesting because now there's 2 days.
No, okay. So Mr. Weiser could go first because he is part of the show.
Go ahead, David.
Okay, so I'm a huge Rian Johnson fan, and I especially liked the first Knives Out. So I came into this. I didn't watch too much of any of the trailers or promotional material because I wanted to try to go in as fresh as possible. I maybe saw one teaser. So I went into this pretty cold. I went into it not really knowing what to expect other than it's a murder mystery and it's a follow-up to Knives Out, but it's kind of more of like an anthology to where it's just Benoit Blanc is going to be the only recurring character carrying over from that movie. And so I went into this, I guess, pretty with a lot of anticipation. And I'm happy to say I wasn't let down at all. Like, I thought it was a very worthy sequel, spin-off, whatever you want to call it. I thought it was a good follow-up, and it walked the tightrope well in terms of not retreading too much of what Rian Johnson already did in the previous film, with like kind of being unique in terms of its structure, and the plot twists are very different. The entourage of suspects are completely different, and like he's got another all-star cast, and I thought it was a really great follow-up sequel, whatever you want to call it.
For you, David.
Yeah, so I came in. I mean, I had seen a couple of promotional trailers and whatnot, and so once again, this was one of the more highly anticipated movies. I had actually watched Knives Out earlier in the week, so I had seen the first one and really liked the first one. So I was really curious to see where the follow up was going to come. And I got to say, you hit it right on the head. I love the cast. I laughed out loud at least 3 or 4 times. The jokes were just, they hit. All the comic humor hit for me. And it was just not, I was still trying to figure things out, and I was kind of, on the fence about things. Overall, though, I liked it. I thought that, was it as good as the first one? No, to your point. But I will say it was a fantastic follow up. It's just one of those things where you're going to have a good time when you go to see this.
Yeah, and same for me here. It is a ball and a half of time. It is a perfect little just microcosm of just like everything you love about the first movie, and then everything you love about Rian Johnson as a filmmaker, and and he just does it again. I mean, he just makes really well defined, well executed, very beautiful looking, and just very well written movies. I mean, it's not even just like it's a very well written whodunit. It's just he just finely structure. He's just a really good a structure. He's really good at revealing stuff, and and as someone who's a huge fan of The Last Jedi, I would love to see more Star Wars stuff. But if Rian Johnson's going to take a cue from Blake Edwards, who did the Black Panther series, I would love to see this kind of Benoit Blanc series just go as many as I think there's 6 or 7 of those Pink Panther movies. So I would be there definitely for 6 or 7 Benoit Blanc movies.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with all those sentiments. I think that this was just a well done. I mean, unfortunately, and it's interesting because, they kind of did this. Correct me if I'm wrong about this, but they had a limited release with The Irishman. And I think that, this could only really, if they had kept this in theaters for the full month, because this is going to be coming out, at least a month to recoup some of this money up. I mean, look, they're making money. They're making so much money hand over fist. I really think this could have done well for a full month. But, and that's a whole other argument or discussion for another time. I think that Netflix is really starting to hit their stride when it comes to making movies. Even though, The Irishman was, it's a long movie. You have to get, there needs to be a couple intermissions there. But I would say this. It's a fantastic, fun, together whodunit. So, yeah, it's just, yeah, definitely.
David, for you, other David.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Weiser, excuse me.
Okay. So what's the prompt? I mean, to kind of.
Oh,
no. Well, I think that. Go ahead.
I was just giving you a turn, David. But
Oh, okay. I was like, what am I? I was like, I already kind of gave my overview. I was like,
okay.
I mean, I definitely agree with the other David that Netflix, they had the right idea of at least giving it somewhat of a theatrical release, but they really, there's so many films they're doing now. They're recruiting a lot of talented filmmakers, and a lot of these movies would do well if they put them in theaters wide and let them stay give them a normal theatrical release, and then do it leading up to the streaming release, and then the streaming release, it'll help with word of mouth for you to build your subscriber base or whatever you're trying to do with the streaming release. Then you get the best of both worlds that way. Or kind of do the 45-day window, maybe what Disney has been doing with Disney Plus stuff.
Right. And for me, like, and I'm on the two sides of the coin. I understand that, like, not Glass Onion and Knives Out they make really good Netflix movies because as soon as you get done watching it, you could rewatch the movie to catch all of like the clues and the little nuances, the little like just the little tricks and whatnot. You can see, and you don't have to go and pay an extra $15 to $30 to go rewatch the movie or wait another time, wait for the theater. You don't have to do all that. You could just be like, okay, scroll to the beginning or just like play the beginning on Netflix. So I understand the playability of putting it on Netflix. However, like I saw this with a full crowd of people, like and this has never happened on any Netflix release I've been to. Like even with The Irishman, none. I've never like sat in a theater where it was a full crowd for a Netflix movie, and people were really enjoying it. People really wanted to see the next Benoit Block story. They wanted to see more of this universe that Rian Johnson had created. So I do agree with both of you that there is this could have been a massive hit if Netflix kind of played along and exhibitors were more open to letting kind of Netflix have a day-and-day release. But I understand like, you know, this was what we got here. This week preview was basically a preview for an advertisement to go watch the movie on Netflix, basically. So, yeah. So I understand the two sides of the coin is what I'm saying.
You know, so to one last point I want to bring up is that it's going to make, from all estimates, it's going to make about $16 million this weekend. And you say, well, there's a lot of good stuff out there. I mean, we saw Wakanda Forever. I mean, the underrated She Said. We have all this, you know, Bones and All. We have all these movies. And I just wonder, with the good word of mouth, with the good rating on Rotten Tomatoes and everything else, I wonder how much more they could have made. It's one of those things where, you know, it's there, and they just took a small portion of it. Maybe next time, and if I were in the Netflix camp, I'd be curious about this. I would be very curious to see if we couldn't put this out for a month, and to make $40 or $50 million plus the subscriptions, plus everything else. Because I would venture to say that you're going to have many more subscriptions go up because of this. So, I mean, that's something, and I wouldn't be shocked to see this happen with the next one. So.
Same. And that's the catch-22 of this whole thing is, like, Knives Out 3 now is in question. Like, what are they going to do with that? And also, we have to keep in mind, like, no matter, like, you brought up the 16 million figure for this weekend. The problem is, too, we have to keep in perspective, even though most people don't keep this in perspective, Thanksgiving week was, I mean, massive. Like, there were so many movies that opened within 1 week. I mean, you brought up She Said, The Menu, this movie, The Fabelmans, Bones and All, Strange World, Devotion. I mean, am I missing any?
No. You know, the funny thing is, one last point is, I'll say this. For almost a 6-week period, we had, really from the, correct me if I'm wrong, but really from August, we had nothing. I mean, we had
Yeah.
August, and then we had, you know, there were a couple of really good films on Hulu. Okay, you know, I mean, if you're a horror fan, you had the Hellraiser movie, and then you had Prey, and then all that, but it was dry. It was completely dry. And now what you're seeing is an overabundance, an oversaturation. We have all of those films that you just named, and now it's, okay, what do I go see? And I think that's something else, too. I think that's another key thing. We are now going in, and we have all these great, and you didn't even talk about the other two movies that are coming out, which we'll talk about later on. But it's like, what do we see now? And I think that really goes to that $16 million figure. So,
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we could talk about this all day, but like, that's kind of like the problem with like this whole month is that so much did come out, and we had one of the biggest movies of the year come out in Wakanda Forever, and even that is slowing down because there's just so much to see. Like there's just too, yeah. So it's just like there's just a lot going on, and even worse, movies that came out before Wakanda Forever that just got like nationwide expansion. Like David, you tried to watch Decision to Leave a couple weeks back, and it was gone by the time Armageddon, or by the time Wakanda Forever came out. So I mean, movies like Triangle of Sadness, Tar, Armageddon Time, Till, like they finally went nationwide a week or two before Wakanda Forever came out, and then they just got completely wiped out in one weekend because Wakanda Forever took like 15 of 20 screens, including IMAX and Dolby and whatever, and all the other formats. So it's just been an insane month, and we'll touch base on this again in the Fablemans. But I did kind of want to state, like, it is crazy how many movies just came out all at once, and now they're kind of disappearing from consciousness because there's just too much space. And then, and this is not even, talking about the stuff that dropped on streaming this month either. We're not even talking about that. But that's just to give you an idea. Like, there's just so much to see all at once. And then December is even, like, kind of, everyone's kind of moving out of December, except for a handful of movies like Babylon, The Whale. Everyone's trying to make clear for Avatar, in case Avatar becomes the biggest movie of 2022. So, but yeah, that's beside the point. So Knives Out. On a non-spoiler way, the only thing I can say without non-spoiling it is I love the mystery. I love Janelle Monáe. Is it Janelle Monáe?
Yeah. Monet. Janelle Monáe.
Monáe. And I love the cast. I love the score. I love little things. But other than that, this movie is way better if you just go in completely fresh. Completely, like, I think, David, you saw the teaser. David Weiser, you saw the teaser. And I think that's just good enough. Like, if you saw that minute teaser, you're good. You're covered. Just go watch it on Netflix or go watch it in theaters right now. So there's not a whole lot for me because, I mean, even the story is kind of a spoiler at this point. So, anything for you guys? We'll go back to you, David Steele. What do you think?
I really... The story was good. Sometimes it takes a while into a film before you figure out why it's called what it's called. This one actually was pretty quick about it. I mean, it was in the first 15, 20 minutes, which I liked. So you got why it was called the title it is. Aesthetically, amazing. I mean, just... I was some of the inside of the onion itself, production design, unbelievable. I mean, some of them, it would rival any modern house, multi-million-dollar house you could look at today and go, wow. From the chairs they were sitting in, to the desk that he had, to anything else. And it was just the staircase going up. The production design was unbelievable on this. And that was something I really appreciated too. And because, let's face it, if you're watching a movie and it doesn't really have a good set, it's going to take you out a little bit. But this was open, it was aesthetically pleasing, and it just worked. And for who the character is that Ed Norton plays, and I'll let you talk about him, that, it was just well done. So that was what I found amazing.
For you, David.
And I loved how, like, compared to the first one, which is very much like kind of like gothic, kind of autumn vibes, like this is very much like a total polar opposite. Like this is very much like tropical Greek, billionaire island. Like I loved the like kind of shift in that, and then also how it was interesting to like kind of compare the structure in a way, like how he introduces the group as in both movies, like how like the family, it's kind of like a series of interviews, and then here it's like basically a group FaceTime call one at a time. But it works in both instances and kind of like establishing who they are one at a time, but in a way that doesn't feel like say for example 2016 Suicide Squad, where like we get like character introduction, oh we get this character introduced again, and like it's like gets kind of monotonous and like repetitive, whereas here like the way it's like integrated, it's very seamless in terms of how it's like kind of it gets right into the meat of the story like pretty quickly. Yeah, I was really, really impressed with how it was written, how many things. He did this as well in the first Knives Out, but how many like little details and lines of dialogue wound up being more important than they seem on the surface, and kind of are called back to later on in the movie. We'll be able to talk on that in more detail when we get into the spoilers, but yeah.
Yeah, and I agree with all of what you guys are saying. I don't have anything else to add. Are you guys ready to go into spoilers?
Yes, I got to ask one question though.
Okay.
So have you guys both seen the menu?
Yes.
Okay. So this isn't a spoiler or anything for that, but one of the first scenes completely remind me of the menu. Completely. Because of how they're transported. So, that was, yeah, so he's getting a kick at, but yeah, so I'll let you go in more depth about it, but yeah, it was definitely, that was the first thing I thought of, but go ahead.
Okay, so we are entering into spoilers. I think it's safe to say we all recommend this movie. So go see the movie in theaters while you still can, and then go see the movie, or if you're having to wait till it's on Netflix, if you're having to wait till it's on Netflix, then just wait till it's on Netflix. But anyway, all right, we're going to spoilers right now. Okay, so I think I understand, David, what you mean by the boat scene. How everyone's kind of introduced, and they're all kind of like they're different. In the menu, they're their own different snobbery. Here, they're just their own different douchebag.
And that's so well put, because that's one of us.
All of them are just like the worst douchebags ever.
I thought it was interesting how he used like the pandemic as a setting, like a time frame to like highlight that, in terms of like you can see the difference in terms of how they each mask. Like we see I think Kate Hudson, she has like basically a clear mask that like is just like little lines of fabric or thread or whatever, and then like Catherine Hahn's character like wears it beneath the nose, and then like Dave Bautista doesn't even wear one at all. Like like you can see that like clear difference, like that little detail. Like I think especially like having lived through the pandemic, like those little details tell you so much about the person.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I would agree with that. That was just something that so the very first scene we see, I mean, I don't know if this has any importance, but the date. What was the date? I mean, because when we're first introduced, I suppose it was just because was it a random date during the pandemic?
It's May 2020. It's just, well, I mean, it's just established that this is like right after the pandemic has started.
Okay. So
that's my interpretation of it. And,
yeah, no, that's good. That solves that.
And also setting it in 2020. I mean, it's set in the election. It's set in the Senate, the main election of the year. So I mean, you have Catherine Hahn, who's a senator, and then you have Kate Hudson, who's like a flamed out model who now has like a sweatpants company, she's now a sweatpants mogul. And then you have Leslie Odom Jr., who's the scientist, who's kind of like basically Edward Norton's like right hand scientist for like scientific projects. And then you have, of course, Edward Norton, who's basically just playing Elon Musk at this point. Like that's basically what it is. It's an allegory of Elon Musk. So, but yeah, I mean, And what's even great too about the boat scene is you get to see everyone, Dave Bautista just showing up. He's basically Alex Jones of the universe too. So it's establishing that this is the new money. Like this is like if Knives Out was like the old inherited money that everyone's just kind of leeching off of. This is the new money that's leeching off of America, off of the people who like watch YouTube videos or that they've basically gained their status, but through their own like douchebaggery ways. So, that's the comment here.
Yeah. Did you guys have a favorite character? Let me ask.
Oh, Ben Affleck all the way.
Okay.
I liked Janelle Monáe's character once you get the twist of once you get like that middle of the movie, and like it felt like to me she was kind of like Ana de Armas's character was kind of the de facto lead of Knives Out. I felt like Janelle Monáe is kind of the surrogate lead in this movie, and I think you're meant to be gravitated towards her, especially like once you for that first half she's so cold. You're kind of put off, she kind of puts you off at you feel so distanced from her. You're not really sure what her deal is quite yet, except you get like little hints, and it alludes to like what happened to her sister, like through the dialogue and stuff. But like once you get like that reveal, then you're like, oh, okay, this is what's going on. Okay, this is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also what you get is, from Janelle Monáe's character is that, I mean, you're watching the whole movie and you know that she's been screwed somehow. Like she has been scorned somehow, and you're trying to figure out the mystery of that. So what I love about the first third of this movie is so much of like, you're just seeing the story unfold. Like you're watching it from Benoit Blanc's point of view. Like the whole thing is from his point of view. Down to Ethan Hawke giving everyone the vaccine, down to, just down to the final, to watching Andy, the character, the supposed character we've been following with Janelle Monáe, watching her get shot and murdered, supposedly. So, I mean, we've been with Benoit Blanc the entire time. From his point of view, and that's what I love about this. We get a third with Benoit Blanc, then the second third of this movie is Janelle's point of view. Like you're seeing it from her point of view. Like you're seeing how she gets involved with Benoit Blanc. You're seeing how she's unraveling the mystery, and she's basically figured out She's kind of figured out it's down to these people, but she doesn't know who killed her sister or who planted the suicide, in any shape or form. But and that's the whole second third of the movie, and then the movie twists back. What's so cool is like when we finally get to the moment where the first act and the second act collide together, then we get to the third act, and everything kind of pops into view. And And that's when, like, the movie, like, finally you're just, like, on ball. If you're not invested in this after these two acts, you're not going to get invested at all. That's where we're at. And yeah.
Yeah, no, I think the other thing that, what you were talking about, like with Ethan, I love the little cameos. I just, whether Ethan Hawke coming in with the thing, I was one of the quickest laughs I ever got was in the first 10 minutes when Yo-Yo Ma pops in.
Yes.
That was one of the funniest cameos for 2 minutes because, so, let me set the scene up real quick. They're all three figure out how to open the box. And
what's in the box?
Yeah, what's in the box? And so there was this music playing after this. And so there was like a lullaby. Or we're going to call it a lullaby for lack of a better thing.
Yeah.
And so in comes Yo-Yo Ma just popping his head in and halfway in the frame and just said, "Oh, that's this for this." And I just thought that was one of the funniest, coolest, unexpected cameos you're ever going to see. Because who would have thought the world's greatest, one of the greatest musicians is ever going to come in a comedy nonetheless, and it worked. The only thing I can equate it to, and maybe a stretch, is Elton John in The Golden Circle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's one of those things where it's like, it's so off kilter that it works. But that, for me, that was the greatest cameo there.
But what's so great is in the background, Kate Hudson's like trying to talk to her lamp and tell the lamp to Shazam, or and she's like, "I think this is just a plain lamp."
It just, and that goes to the writing, right? I mean, the Knives Out, the first one was so good, and it was just, we got the mystery and everything else. It's so hard to write and direct, and I think we would both agree, all of us would agree, it's so hard to write and direct, and not only that, but to have jokes that land, right? I mean, like I said, Yo-Yo Ma was in it for like 3 minutes, and to have that happen, or the Kate Hudson with the Shazam, or whatever it was, it just... I had about 25 or 30 people in my theater, and they were all laughing because it is so difficult to write good comedy, not only good comedy, but to make people laugh. And I think Ryan really got the feel for it. I mean, he did a fantastic job with the first one. This one is just as good as far as the writing was sharp, the writing was on point, and all of the people that had to deliver the lines did it. I mean, it's not like you're Dave Bautista delivering a line that makes somebody laugh because that's not who he is, But yeah, whether it was Kate Hudson or Yo-Yo Ma for the small portion or whoever it was, it just worked.
And then in the background, you have Noah Segan just like, "I'm just here. Don't mind me at all." And what's so great is this movie's such a whodunit. You don't know if you're supposed to or not. You don't know if it's just a red herring or whatnot. So, although he does kind of have like a reddish hair, so I guess he is kind of red herring.
Yeah,
reddish brownish. So
yeah, I mean everything about it just. What did you guys think? Let me ask you guys. What did you guys think about when they got to the island? I mean, how
beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, that to me...
I could tell that the budget had increased because there was a lot of, sweeping camera shots that, they would not have had in the first one. Not saying the camera work wasn't good in the first Knives Out, but you can tell they were able to use the money on, nice camera rigs and stuff.
Absolutely. And when we get to the island, it's so... it's so great. I mean, you have the little two angels popping out, which becomes a funny joke later with the, high tide. I love it so much. Like this guy, and it sets Edward Norton's character so much because, And David, I think you were the one when the Glass Onion title came out, when it was announced that it was Glass Onion. You were the one that shared me like the definition of Glass Onion, which was, this kind of like menagerie. But when you peel the layers, it's just nothing but an obvious, like, it's just obvious. And the whole movie is that about Edward Norton. Like, he has all this panache, this money, this power, but in the end, he's just an idiot. Like, he's just like an idiot who just spends a shit ton of money. And that's great. Well, unless he's the villain, of course, but,
Yeah. I mean, to your point, David, this was only made on a $40 million budget.
Really?
Yes. That is saying something. You got 4 or 5 huge, I won't say huge, but well-known household names. Edward Norton, finally, I think he's a fantastic actor. I was really hoping that he was going to be in more than the movie and what they put in the trailer, and he was, and that was fantastic. You got Edward Norton, you got Kate Hudson, you got Dave Bautista, you got a multitude of different familiar faces, and on a relatively cheap budget. So to your point about the shots and everything else, I think once Netflix realized how big of a hit it was, they said, okay, Ryan, here's more money. Go make your next film. So...
Yeah, absolutely. Which is surprising to find out because there's not only like the bigger sets, more panache, and you can definitely tell that Rick Heinrichs was a production designer on this because not only does like the Glass Onion, like the room itself have this like Big Lebowski, but also like it also has like a Tim Burton vibe too, which Rick Heinrichs has done a lot of Burton movies. So it has this, but it's still like all the way through. You feel the Rian Johnson of it all. So, but no, I love the island. I love the setup, and I love that like much like David, what you said, it contrasts the autumn gothic feel because this is new money. It has to like be summer and beautiful. It has to be bright and nice and sunny with beautiful pools and gorgeous people and all that stuff. So it has to be incredible. I love even like the mentions. They bring in Jared Leto's Kabuchi,
and then Jeremy Renner's hot sauce,
which plays a role later on. But it was just one of those things where. And the other thing I'll say is this. We've had a lot of films this year, whether it's The Menu or now it's Glass Onion or a couple other movies, that have one setting, one location. Mm-hmm. And not only does that save on budget, but you can definitely, that you don't know, but obviously the place is huge. But so you can do more things and shoot more film or, have more shots and just have it be on one location. And I think that's so incredibly important because you see some of these movies today, they're going across the world and this is in one place. That's it. And when you're able to put all of these things together, like having it in one location, having a bunch of household names, having a well-done script, and everything else, it adds up to you having a good, solid film. So once they're introduced on the island, they have a few drinks and then talk about dinner. This is, one of the funniest things I thought at the dinner table.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, yeah, and also, at the dinner table, you get to know more about Andy, and you get to hear more about Andy's story, and later on, you get another kind of like not necessarily a reprieve, but you kind of get a more expanded piece on like why no one came to help Andy when she was basically being gutted out of the company from Edward Norton's Miles Braun. So, and and you get the coldness of it all. And then what's so great is you never see the first murder coming. Like when it happens, it just happens. Like you're just like, and I noticed a few people in the audience already like putting it together that Miles handed what's we'll just say Batista's character like the drink. Like they already were putting that together.
Duke was his name.
Duke. Okay. Like they were already putting that together, and they were already confused when Miles recanted the story of like he put the drink down and he must have picked up the drink. So they were already like putting it together because they were looking very closely at the shots.
Well, it like goes to show so much about Miles's character is that like he achieved his status through manipulation. So it's like that's who he is. He's a manipulator, and so for him to manipulate the story and trick everyone in that room to thinking that something else happened, like
yeah.
So the two things that pop out to me were number one, the Mona Lisa. How he, got them. He was able to bargain to get the Mona Lisa, and how that played a little bit of a part in it. But number two, to the dinner, which you were talking about, the dinner table, when Miles says, "Well, are there any questions?" And Benoit says, "Well, what do we win?" Another joke that landed. Well, what do we win? Well, I didn't really, an iPad, would be nice. So that's when he figures out what, when he was walking around the room in his little, with the crossbow and this, and this. And, it shoots Miles. And then he goes upstairs with Miles, and he's like, "Do you know how long that took me to put together? Do you know she was one of the most expensive fucking people I've ever had out there to pay? And you just ruined it." And that's when we see that, like, that set where they're sitting down with the chairs, and so he says, "I find it fascinating that you had 7 people come to your island, all that wanted to kill you for one reason or another." And, at that point, you start to put it together, but it was like, that in itself, because of this, it just worked. That got me a quality laugh.
Well, and also Miles Braun, it shows, like, if you ever watch the movie again, which I haven't yet, but which if you watch the movie again, you are seeing, like, Miles basically is, coying Benoit Blanc. Like, he's coying on how to, like, pull off the ultimate murder, which is going to be towards Andy, and how he can manipulate again to his, to his liking of where Andy gets murdered and everyone can just kind of be like, don't know what happened. I guess the killer was on a boat and just fled or whatever the stupid story was going to be. So I really, really liked it. The only thing I do have a question about is, so why did Andy's sister or Andy in general get the box? Was that ever explained?
Okay, that is the good.
Yeah. Now that I think about it, I think that because she was actually, and I could be wrong about this, because she was one of the group, from what I understood, because she was in the,
right.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but she was in the photograph with the original team. So I think and from there, that's when they started to do that. So I think, she was part of the original team that was part of the Disruptors, so that could have been why. And B, I think that Miles, in his mind, he wanted to try and reconcile things, thinking that was her. He wanted to try, because don't forget, you didn't hear a word out of her until we're on the island and they're all sitting around, and then she just goes off for about that little soliloquy for about 5 minutes, saying all these things, and it kind of brings down the mood. So that could be the only reason why she got the box. But by the way,
He may have sent her the box before he murdered her, because I think the time frame of him receiving that fax, it was kind of an indication that she had the napkin in the envelope. Like, I think the time frame between that and when she was actually murdered was like really quick, because it was the same day, because they mentioned it was Whiskey's birthday, and like he had the fax machines everywhere, and so he got the fax. He probably sent the box before then, and
yeah.
he didn't have the Prime 2-day shipping, so he did,
Yeah.
it just didn't get it got
No,
there.
so the two things that really stuck out to me that got me laughs was, number one, we see, everybody, and this is the genius of Ryan. Ryan is, he has all these people actually trying to figure out the box. And then all you see is the box just sitting there on the table, and she has no idea how to open it. Meanwhile, you see, the split screen of everybody opening it. And she walks out of frame, and she comes back with a hammer. And just starts pounding the crap out of it until she gets the little thing, the invitation. And the other scene I thought that was hilarious, and these jokes all landed. I got laughs in my theater. And the other thing was when when we first meet Duke, and he's doing the recording. Okay, that was a laugh in itself. But then to actually have the box out there, and he's on the phone talking with all of his friends, and the mother is the one that is actually coming up with all these things.
It is great. Duke is an idiot, so another idiot.
Not to mention that he's recording it like in his mother's basement or whatever. So that gets
exactly. No, that was perfect. Mom, and then she slaps. He has to put him back in line. And I thought that was so clever. But see, that's the genius. And I think one of the things is the story, right? We all love the story. And the writing is so integral and important to a good story. When you write these things and you have jokes that land, it just works. So yeah, no, to that point too. I loved it.
So one more thing there's more things we can talk about, but we have to talk about the Hugh Grant of it all, Mr. Blanc. Great surprise, by the way. No one knew about it, and I mean, we knew his partner was showing up in the movie at this point, but when Hugh Grant, did anyone suspect it could be Hugh Grant? Because everyone was kind of predicting it was JGL.
Another great cameo that just came out of left field. And I think when they're done well, and you have it done well, it's fantastic. Even on a rewatch, you're still getting the same laugh that you did the first time. And no, I didn't expect that at all.
And the Serena Williams one, that was another good.
I kind of, that was funny. I kind of was like, okay, I'm waiting for her to have seen this. Yeah. No, that's, well, I mean, I haven't seen them, but I know of them, those workout things, and
yeah.
But that was hilarious. And you're just kind of like, okay, I'm waiting for her to talk and to say, but for what she said, just classic.
And then on top of that, there's the dong, hourly dong.
No, that's what facilitates the whole murder, though, right? At 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, and you hear that. And then there's actually a callback later on. They said, well, what's that noise? And it's like, the dong that you put in, that's the other thing, too. And it works so well. Yeah.
Another favorite joke is Beyonce. They keep alluding that Kate Hudson's character went blackface one time and unknowingly in a tribute to Beyonce.
I think the best one, or one of the best ones for me, was the secret phone.
Yeah.
with the sweatshop. So Peg, who is the assistant, says, this is a secret phone. Well, what is this? And then she reads the email, and she says, you're reading it. She's reading it. And she's like, wait a minute. You're telling me you actually thought sweats were made in a sweatshop? I went, oh my god, that is just so classic.
That's that line got the biggest laugh in my theater. But yeah.
Yeah, no, that's just... But that just goes to writing. And that just goes to show his sense of humor. And how he's able to do it. Just... I want to go back and see this again. I mean, we're all raving about this, but yeah. I
might have to go Discount Tuesday.
Yeah.
But
definitely.
But yeah. Yeah, David, any of the other cameos or jokes for you that we haven't mentioned yet, or were for you?
There was a lot of good rapport. This isn't necessarily like a specific joke, but there was a lot of good rapport between Janelle Monáe and Benoit Blanc. Like they just had a really good dynamic where she was kind of she was kind of unraveling more of the mystery for him in a way. Like she was kind of oh, and it's like Clue, right? And the jokes about Clue, that was amazing. Where he was
yeah.
I hate that game. He was I'm not good at simple things.
Well, and that's the funny joke, though. That's the punchline. Is that he's one of the world's greatest detectives, but he hates the detective game Clue. So I always find, for me, when I'm watching comedy, and I think one of the secrets of comedy, while it is timing, it's not only timing, but it's opposites. So something like that, where you have the world's greatest detective, but he hates the detective game. I mean, how classic is that? So, yeah.
And he's not a very good detective, as we've established in Knives Out. He's not the best. He's also not perfect, but... And, I mean, he almost gets his witness killed. The one person, his whole client killed.
Yeah, I mean... I would say this has got to be one of the funniest movies this year.
Oh, this is the funniest movie of the year.
Without a doubt. And I think it was definitely worth the wait, and I think it just was so marvelously done. So, what do you guys... So, I gotta ask this. When did you guys figure it out?
Oh, the twist? Or the killer?
Yeah, when you guys figured it out?
David, I'll let you take that one.
I think it was kind of as they were establishing everyone's motive to why they would kill Andy, when they dismissed Edward Norton so quickly. When Benoit Blanc was oh no, it's too obvious. I was I feel like it's him. I have a
I mean, that's the whole point of the
it's gonna
movie.
be him. Yeah. So that I felt with yeah, exactly, with the glass, knowing the meaning of glass onion being explained in the movie, and I had also seen it offline or online previously. Having that in mind on top of hearing something having him dismiss the obvious, I felt at that moment I was okay, I feel like it's Edward Norton. I'm interested to see how that happened. What or if he had an accomplice in that group that's what's going to be part of the twist. And I think it's interesting how Ryan kind of subverts the idea of there being a reveal of the killer. In both the first Knives Out, we know that from the very beginning, it's revealed very quickly that Christopher Plummer basically committed suicide. He took the pill and he didn't allow Ana de Armas to call the ambulance and all that stuff. He kind of more or less he killed himself in a way. So what they're trying to uncover is the truth. It's more the manipulation behind it and who's trying to cover up what and blah blah blah. Like, and I think like it's kind of interesting how he plays on that idea of who did it, like who done it. Like Chris Evans's character didn't directly kill Christopher Plummer, but indirectly it led to his death. And then like actually the reveal that he took the right medicine and he slashed his own throat. So he did kill himself. And so like it's just interesting to like see how he kind of plays with that. And it makes it more refreshing as a murder mystery to have it not be the typical or conventional suspect, like who did it type of story. Like I think it just makes it more interesting to watch and keeps you more engaged. And your focus isn't so much on who did it, so much as like that's not really the singular focus of either movie for me. Like I think you're kind of just along for the ride. At least that's how I interpret both movies.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. For me, it's, it. I mean, I knew that. I think I knew Norton had done it, or at least had played a part in the end of the first act, because he is manipulating. He has all the cards. Like, regardless of what, Catherine Hahn's character and Leslie Odom Jr.'s character think of the whole. We haven't even talked about the hydrogen thing yet, but their whole thing about that, they all have motivation to take out Edward Norton's character and Andy, but they are way too much. Edward Norton holds all the cards. Like, he has the higher ground. So
it's over,
like,
Anakin.
I will
have the high ground.
That's Edward Norton. I have the higher ground. And even more, what's funny, you just said that, but he does, when he's framed at the end of the movie, he's always framed and tilting up, suggesting he has the higher ground.
Yeah,
Anyway.
and that's where I think the cinematographers and the DPs and the director really have it established. When you know film and you know what, tilting a camera up and having a character, the camera look up at the frame, when you know what that means, it has much more significance. When vice versa, when it's tilting down, you go, okay, so... No, it's one of those things where it's a literal thing and it's a figurative thing. And I think that it gives you more appreciation for that.
Speaking of the cinematography, can we talk about how well Steve Yedlin in both of these movies, he's kind of talked a lot about this, but like how well he's able to replicate the look of film with digital? Like, I've just got to say, hats off to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know if they did it, because there is one scene they shot in Knives Out on film, just to kind of like prove a point that we're at the point now that film and digital, we can color correct it to look the same, but I believe this one was shot all digital. I don't know if he did a scene or anything on film, but yeah, no, he knocks it out of the park, and gives it a lot of layers that are also very obvious. Trying to think. Oh, when it's finally revealed, like, what the napkin means and what it holds, and when we finally find it, and he burns it. Edward Norton burns it. Like, just... that is great. Like, the mystery solved. Like, Ben Affleck has nothing... Like, he can't do anything. No one can do anything, because that's even, like... That's the hierarchy of, like... She had the evidence that could free all these people. Like, even if they're all douchebags, they're all still held captive by Braun.
Yeah. So, to your point, so for all those people that, so in a script, there are plot points, and there are 24 plot points in a movie. So this plot point where we see this is called the point of no return. So this is when you think that the hero or heroine is not going to make it, or they're going to die, or whatever else. This is that plot point where, once this happens, what else can they do? And to your point, she even goes to Blanc and says, do something. And he's like, my hands are tied. So that's when, once that happens, she gets so upset that she starts breaking things. And she, starts, breaking, and you just see the cross-cutting going back and forth between her breaking things and his reaction is he's just drinking the wine, and that's when everybody snaps out of it. And I just thought that was great. But yes, that's one of those things where it just followed it so well.
Right. David, did you have something?
Yeah, and I just want to talk about how like that was such a great subversion with revealing why she was breaking the stuff. Like, and how like it's there in the dialogue when he tells her like there's something he tells her that alludes to the clear hydrogen stuff. I don't remember the exact line, but like he says it to her and hands it to her, like, and it's like it's the way that it's framed and edited, you just kind of brush it off as like, oh, okay, whatever. And then like it seems like, yeah, she's just doing this and like she's throwing a tantrum or whatever. And then for like that reveal, like it all snaps into place, and then for like knowing like what she's doing so he can get what he wants and be spoken of in the same breath as the Mona Lisa, and all of that like poetic irony that's like layered on top of all this. Like it's just like, wow, that's so brilliant how it's like quickly, like there's that quick subversion, and then it's like, okay, here's why she's doing it once she finishes.
Yeah, I mean, I think the other thing too you kind of look at is, it was called Clear, right? But yet it could blow up the world.
Oh,
Yeah. I mean, it's another juxtaposition and I think that's the biggest thing about this. There are so many juxtapositions that work. It's called Clear, but yeah, it could blow up the world, and that's why, that was the whole motive, and if you even want to go so far as to say how she died, with the carbon monoxide, it was clear. I mean, maybe I'm reading a little too much into it, but,
And the poison that, she ingested, because it was also suggested that she was poisoned, was also clear. It was right in front of us all along. Also, when the hydrogen thing kind of came up, I was like, yeah, that's dumb. Like, you can't, like, there's no way to, like, combust hydrogen in a safe way, because any ounce of like water or carbon, like it'll just combust. Like it's literally chemistry. Like literally, like you can watch a Breaking Bad episode and put this together. But
and I'm sure there were people in the theater that thought that too.
But then again, I mean, Benoit Blanc, when he says Miles Braun is an idiot.
Well, don't forget, this is the same guy that's making up words, right?
Yeah.
I mean, when he's talking, and a couple of times it's like, really?
Well, he's stalling
and that's
too.
To your point.
And
he's
I like when Benoit
well,
called him out on that. Like when he's like, when we got here, you were making up all these words, like blah, blah, blah. I don't remember the exact words, but...
Yeah, no, but it's just,
And also, I mean, just great that Benoit Blanc and Noah Sagan, they're just sitting on the beach just like smoking weed. They're just like...
And that's another great thing. The guy when they all get to the island, you just see this guy with a 12-pack of Corona walking through. It's a serene, quiet thing, and the guy just starts walking through with a 12-pack of Corona. He's like, hey, what's up? It's like, who's that? Oh, that's Daniel. He stays on the island. He has nothing to do with it. And then, of course, he pops back in the second act in another spot. And then, you still, it's the same gag, just played off differently. And then at the end, she's running through the different rooms trying to find the envelope. And she finds him. That was it. And he's just smoking the weed again. You want to stop? You want to hang out for a bit? And it's like, okay. And then in the third act, as you said, they're just smoking weed on the beach. And it's like, oh, man.
Oh, my gosh.
Speaking of smoking, when Daniel Craig, or when Benoit Blanc is lighting the cigarette or a cigar or whatever, and the island security is like, oh no, a red alert,
no smoking zone. This is
exactly.
no smoking zone. And then it just goes off and he gets scared.
Yeah.
And of course, the last callback to that is when the whole place goes up.
Mm-hmm.
This is a no smoking zone.
And that's the clue for Benoit Blanc that, you have to burn this place down in order to expose, because, of course, the thing is running on clear. Hydrogen, if you blow it up, there's no way he can hide it. There's no way he can hide that his hydrogen thing is bullshit. Or isn't bullshit. He has to, you blow it up. I mean, and you burn the Mona Lisa. I mean, you basically ruin his career forever. In the same way that he ruined Andy's, entire, not only career, but, I mean, just ruined her entire, cut her out of the company, leaving her nothing. So,
yeah.
Damn. Oh my god. And just when he's, watching the Mona Lisa burn, just, the face. It's just
the facial
pathetic.
expressions were priceless. Priceless.
Oh, it's pathetic, you idiot. Yeah, it's just I enjoy this movie. I have a good time. Trying to think of what else. Is there anything else of the movie we haven't talked about yet?
Well, I think that the very end, when basically they're all sitting on the steps, because that was the big thing. He had something hanging over their heads, and then he says something, and then they all start raising their hands. Well, I saw him do this, or I saw him do that, or I saw him do the other thing. And it was like being let go and being free of everything. And that was the absolute, culmination of everything. There's nothing else you can hang over my head. And so, that's when they eventually, they want to help her out and get what's hers. And, yeah.
Well,
So.
I mean, and at this point, Catherine Hahn's career, or Senate career, is basically, once this all gets out, it's going to be in the tank. I mean, they have nothing to lose. They have nothing else to lose at this point. I mean, Leslie Odom Jr.'s career is in the tank. I mean, Duke is dead. So, I mean, Goldie, even, Kate Hudson, I mean, she's just there's just nothing left. I mean, I think sweatshops make great sweatpants. Or whatever, yeah. So,
That's hilarious.
it is hilarious. So, we're approaching an hour in the chat. Is there anything else on Glass Onion that we want to talk about before we close? All right. So, David, you are the new guest this week. Why don't you tell everyone about Real Talk or Real Guys?
Real Talks.
Okay,
So-
sorry, I forgot about it.
No,
Go
that's
ahead.
okay. So thank you very much. So I have big plans for 2023. I'm on YouTube. Basically, I have a bunch of different things. Go watch the update video. It's about 15 minutes. It will let you know the plans for the next year. I'm really excited. And so this is just going to keep getting bigger and better. And guys, it's awesome. So I love doing this type of thing, and this is what I want to do. So yeah. Thank you very much.
And David, where can the good people find you? And do you have anything to promote?
So you can find me on Twitter at Weiser_David. I'm also now on what's it called? The new one, Hive. And David Weiser, just my name, because it doesn't allow special characters like underscores. So you can find me there if Twitter goes down or whatever. Um, and yeah, I have a blog called Film Assessment. Haven't written on it in about a year, but I just saw The Fablemans and I really want to write about it. So I think I'm going to write a Fablemans review very soon. I can't wait to talk about that one with Kale soon. Yeah, go see Glass Onion if you can in theaters. If not, check it out when it hits streaming.
Yeah, I echo the same sentiments 100%. This is, as I said, I think personally one of the best films of 2022. Everything about it is just top notch, whether it's the writing, whether it's the star power you have in there, whether it's the comedy, whether it's the mystery aspect of it. This was, I mean, we're always talking about anticipated movies like The Fablemans, like the new Avatar, like Babylon. But guys, this is a phenomenal movie. And the cool thing is, within the week, you're going to be able to sit down and watch this in the comfort of your own home. So, I loved it. There's nothing else to say.
Absolutely. And yeah, go check out not only Knives Out, but Glass Onion as well. All links and stuff will be in the description below. And thanks everyone so much. David Steele, thank you so much for joining us. And of course, David Weiser, thank you. And also, just before we go, you can find more updates on the podcast on my Twitter at Movie Kale. That will kind of give you an update on when the Fablemans podcast will be out and when other podcasts will be out. So just stay tuned. We are going to record the Fablemans in the next few days. I think everyone, and yeah, I mean, just as a little preview, the Fablemans is one of those special movies. I cannot. I like David, and I'm assuming with David Steele, I cannot wait to talk about this movie. I cannot wait for you all to see this movie, and I cannot wait to talk about it even more. Thank you all so much. We will be back very, very soon.